So you logged into Fortnite and you see this movement in chapter 5 and you're like, what the heck is that? It looks really weird, janky. How am I supposed to build, edit, fight, do all of that, right? I got you. In this video, I'm going to be discussing the core skill that you need to have in chapter 5, which is box fighting, but I'm also going to be discussing in general like the movement and how it plays out, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions about this new movement mechanic. Let's address the elephant in the room. This movement is slightly slower than the old movement. It is, right? And Epic has issued a statement about this saying they hear the community's concerns and there's a possibility that they might revert it at some point. But it's not as slow as people are making it out to be. On the screen, I'm going to put a side-by-side of the chapter 1, 2, 3, and 4 sprinting or running and the chapter 5 running. It's not like astronomically slow like pros are making it out to be. It's not the end of the world. You can still do everything you could do before. See this clip right here where I triple edit, quadruple edit, and do all of that, right? What has changed is the fact that high ground is going to be a lot easier to hold, because with slightly slower movement, it is easier for high ground to predict, for high ground to pre-fire, and for high ground to counter people taking high ground, right? But luckily for you, high ground is not exactly all it's cracked up to be this season. Now in OG Fortnite, box fighting was actually kind of a difficult thing to do because RPGs were a thing. Because if you box up on low ground, high ground could just RPG or GL down on you and you were cooked. They would GL, RPG you, and pre-fire you. But there's no GLers or RPGs in the game right now. The only explosives we really have are these cluster grenades. So all high ground could do is spray down on you, which means that you could basically force a box fight out of any circumstance you want. Which means that if you don't want to crank onto high ground and do all of that, you can force the box fight, and box fighting mechanics become extremely important. Now, what are my core 4 box fighting mechanics that I always tell people to practice? I had a video on this before, but I'm going to reiterate it now because we have a new chapter and a new meta. You're going to want to practice piece control, crosshair placement first and foremost, the most important box fighting mechanics, and then obviously the peaks that you make and the angles at which you take edits, and then obviously your aim, because none of that matters if you just whiff your shot, right? Now, if you were a good box fighter before, you're going to want to practice this now, because all of that's changed with the movement, the angles, your edit timing, everything. You're going to want to practice it again. I've showcased this map before in the past, but I figured now is a good time to bring it up again because we have a new meta and all of that. It is Raiders Mechanics Training version 4. The code is at the top of the screen. It has aim training, peak practice, free builds, piece control tunnels, piece control and peak training, crosshair placement, and clutch practice. This map was and is still everything you need to get good at box fighting and get decent at box fighting. Now, I've put the chapters at the bottom of the screen for people who want to skip to various sections of the video, because I am going to kind of take this slow and methodically. So let's get right into it. So obviously, first, you're going to want to come into Freebuild, right? We have new movement, new chapter, new timing, all that. You're going to want to come into Freebuild, and you're just going to want to play around with all the common builds and edits you used to make. With slightly slower movement, use this as an opportunity to improve your mechanics. Try those triple edits, quadruple edits that you couldn't make before. Try all of that. Just, you know, get your timing of your edits down. You practice piece controlling, practice making boxes like this, right? Kind of get all that down first before you go to the other parts, because you want to make sure you have your fundamentals under you still. And if you really want to slow it down in slow motion, just to kind of see the movement in slow motion, all the timings and all that, you can slow this down to 0.8. It's not really needed, I find, because, you know, it's already kind of slow, but, you know, you could practice it in slow motion. So once you got a good feeling for that, you're going to come back here, and the first thing I would do is I would hop into peak practice, because aiming hasn't really changed. Your sensitivity, all of that hasn't changed really, so I'm not going to cover that too much in this video. If you know how to get good aim, practice aim training, right? Peak practice. So peak training, you're going to come into this box and you're going to basically try not to get hit like that. If you make too wide of an edit to where you expose yourself to this bot, it's going to slap you. So make the small triangle edits, make these peaks to where you're not going to get hurt, and, you know, practice, really practice that, because in a box fight, it's really important when you make an edit not to get destroyed, because there's a delay between when you make an edit and when your shotgun pulls out. So you want to make sure when you make an edit, you're behind cover, and then you can peek appropriately. I don't know how it hit me there. Since you got a good aim for that, you're going to come into the piece control tunnels. Piece control tunnels work the same as they did before. You're just trying to place as many builds as possible with making as clean of edits as possible, focusing on your crosshair movement, making it as minimal as possible. You can see I'm messing up. You're gonna mess up too, because just new edit timing, you know, new mechanics to get used to. But really focus on just, you know, taking it slow and easy, placing all the builds you need to place, all that. So once you've done peak practice, free build, and the piece control tunnels, you can put it all together with piece control and peak training together. I would recommend starting on easy for the bot reaction time, and then hitting start. So again, if you expose yourself to the bot, it's going to hit you. And again, you're going to mess up because new edit timing, new movement, and all that. So don't fret. Now, this is my first time running through this course since the new update yesterday. So, you know, forgive me for messing up a little bit. Forgive me for being a little bit rusty. And once you've done that, you don't really need the tunnels with targets one, because it's the same exact thing. It's just it has targets, and then targets don't shoot back at you. So if you get through the piece control tunnels, but you find you're not ready for the piece control peak training, maybe you run through the one with the targets first and then go to the piece control peak training one. But these courses right here in this area, boom, 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 are going to be your best friend at practicing your crosshair placement, your piece control, you know, getting your edit timing back down, and getting those box fighting skills to a place similar to where they were prior to this movement update. Now, best movement settings. I don't really have decent ones right now. I just kind of copied some ones that I found on TikTok. So if you want them, they're here. One thing I've heard is people say to unbind force walk toggle. So make sure you unbind that. But these are the settings I have right now. I'm probably going to tweak them some more though, so don't take these as gospel. But those are the settings I have right now. If you have better ones, let me know in the comment section so I can try them out. After you've put it all together, I would come to the pit. The island code's right here. It's a free-for-all fighting map, or you can use BHEs, 1v1 build battles. But this will help you, you know, okay, these are how fights play out in real time. It's not just a forced box fight, it's an actual like arena PvP building. So this will help you gauge your edit timing in real time against real players. Okay, these are how players are kind of playing now, because they're playing a little bit differently. They're playing a little more slower, passive, piece control and edit, box fight based than they did before. You're not going to find Timmy's trying to crank a bajillion 90s on you anymore. He's going to do a simple high guard retake, take height, and then spray down on you. I don't know though, really though, like I found that this update, like on day one, I was freaking out about this update. I was like, oh my God, this ruined building, this ruined editing, this ruined the game. But now that I'm going through it, I'm like, it doesn't feel a whole lot different than before. It's a little off. It's a little awkward. You have to mess with your settings, you know. But once you get your settings down, once you get the timing down, it feels kind of like it did before, just a little bit slower. So it kind of does lower the skill gap a little bit. But for people who are on higher ping, who couldn't hit those triple edits before because, you know, they were just a millisecond late, this update's for you. As I missed a triple edit, but you know, this update's for you. I know I said earlier in the video that the movement's only slightly slower. Now, after seeing more videos and after playing with it a little bit more, it is noticeably slower. That being said, my point still stands. You see that you can still build edit, quadruple edit, and do all of that. It's just, it's slower, right? Obviously, in which case, box fighting is the skill you need to have. If you are not a good box fighter already, I hope this video helped you a lot, and I hope that you practice it, you get good at it, and I hope that you at least find that the season is playable. I fully expect Epic Games to revert this change. They've already issued a statement saying that, you know, they're monitoring it, that they're looking at the player feedback. Okay, you guys give it a chance, at least give it a chance, you know, but we'll monitor if the community continues to dislike it. So they're definitely looking at it and definitely thinking about reverting it if the community continues to dislike it. But they're asking everyone to give it a chance. Now, in their statement, they said that they made this change because they want everybody to have to think about each build and edit they place in the middle of a fight. They don't want basically the fastest editor to win the fight. They don't want just whoever can spam F or whatever their edit bind is the most to win the fight. They want the fight to come down to who strategically outplays the opponent more with their brain, who, you know, places their builds most optimally and not just most fast, right? Because let's face it, the last few years, whoever builds and edit the fastest wins. It doesn't matter about any of the other mechanics. If you could spam the correct keys the correct ways, you won the fight. But now you need good mechanics and you also need a good brain. So you need to put the two together. I'm not saying this update's good by any means. I do love the season besides the movement update. But I'm saying that's their reasoning behind it. So I don't know if you agree with that reasoning or not. I'm just saying that's the way it is. But yeah, thank you so much for watching again, and I'll see you guys next video. Thank you for all the love recently on the videos. I appreciate it a lot. And I'm going to continue to make some chapter 5 content.